morning once again to all the respected dignitaries, the teachers here, my little brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming to the Sharjah International Book Festival. Sharjah, the cultural capital of the UAE, had a passion for the written word since 1982, and under the continued guidance and patronage of His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasmi, the UAE Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, the Department of Culture and Information wrote the first chapter of the Sharjah International Book Fair. It is now the fourth largest book fair in the world. And it is our extreme honor that we have two eminent personalities amongst us today. I would request the two of them to actually come up onto the dais. I would first invite Dr. D. Babu Paul to please come up on the stage, and let's give them a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Babu. And thank you, dear children, for what looks like an enthusiastic reception to me. I must be the oldest human being under this roof here right now. Srijit's mother was born after I finished my studies. And my youngest grandchild, who is in the 10th standard, must be older than most of you. So I really come from the age of Noah, if not Adam. But there are certain aspects in civilization and culture which get transmitted from generation to generation, even without people realizing what is happening. Every generation stands on the shoulder of the previous generation and looks ahead so that they see a larger horizon. But the horizon that is larger is also a more distant horizon. That should really motivate the new generation. My father was an accepted scholar in his generation, in my part of the world. But if my knowledge is limited to the level of my father's knowledge at the age of 75, I am 75 now, then society cannot go further. So I have to know more things when I am 75 than my father, a great scholar himself, knew when he was 75. So you are people with the potential and the responsibility. Some of you would not imagine that I was born in an unelectrified village in India. Can you imagine a house without an electric bulb? I had my first few years of school education reading and writing with the help of a kerosene lamp. Not because I was extraordinarily poor, but because the country was poor, country was underdeveloped, and there was no electricity in my village. And from there we have come a long way in India. The path that we have traversed is really remarkable. In 1947, when India became independent, the average life expectancy in the country was less than 25 years. Today in Kerala, it is 76 years, average life expectancy. When I was young, in the whole taluk, which is a fairly big geographical area, there was one dispensary and 2 underqualified doctors. Today we have a medical college in that area. So India has progressed. It has been the privilege of my generation to watch that progress and be part of that progress. There is no reason for my generation to hang our heads in shame. Our immediate previous generation won us freedom. And my generation, take 10 or 15 years before and after, we lived up to their expectation and brought India to a level where it has reached now. This is a generation which took up the challenge. The dreams were of the previous generation. Jawaharlal Nehru had a dream. Sardar Patel had a dream of a powerful nation. Dr. Radhakrishnan had a dream of a highly intellectual environment in the country. We had Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai, who dreamt of conquering space. The generation that had great dreams. And my generation took on that dreams. And the country is where we are. In my generation, you had eminent people like Dr. Kalam and his successors in ISRO and elsewhere, great scientists, great Nobel laureates, great writers, great engineers. That is why India is now on the verge of being declared a superpower. Now I want you to understand and appreciate where you fit into this context of history. You fit into this context of history because you are going to carry forward a great tradition. That is not a tradition which begins with the Nehru generation or Gandhi generation. In India, that tradition is more than 5,000 years old. You must have studied about the Mohenjo-daro, Harappa civilizations. You must have studied about Gautama Buddha. So you would have studied about Shankaracharya. You would have studied about Ashoka. So India has a long history. We had eminent scientists like Aryabhata. We had eminent mathematicians like Neelakantan and Madhavan, who lived in my part of the world in Kerala. We had eminent writers like Kalidasan and others. So in every field, India has a long tradition of 5,000 years. But the modern age began with the independence struggle, and the next stage began with independence itself. And in the 21st century, we have reached a stage where we can reasonably hope that in another 25 years, we will be one of the 3 or 4 major countries in the whole world. But that is up to you. We have done our part. And this is like a relay race. We have handed over the baton to the next generation, and by the time you finish your studies, they will hand over the baton to you. So when you are pupils in school or students at the university, I want you to remember this great heritage which you are heirs to. I want you also to remember the great responsibility is cast on your shoulders, and I want you to rise to the occasion in fairness to the people who went on the canvas, who treaded the canvas of history before you. So I do hope that you, in your generation, will be able to take up this responsibility. For which, what should you do now? In the first place, you should know about your past. Now, the past means not only India's past, but the past of humanity, where we have started. So you should be aware of that. Secondly, you should be aware of the great change which you will face. In 4000 BC, the maximum attainable speed of locomotion was 20 kilometers per hour. That was the speed at which a chariot could travel. And it was in 1890s that the steam locomotive came, taking the speed up to 100 kilometers. So 5,890 years, which is almost 6,000 years, for the maximum attainable speed of locomotion to rise from 20 five-fold to 100. But in 1932, Hitler sent his rocket planes up. The speed was 400 kilometers. So what took 5,000, 6,000 years for a five-fold increase from 20 to 100 took only less than 50 years for a further four-fold increase from 100 to 400. And in 1957, Soviet Union conquered space, shooting that dog and the Sputnik. Now, to break the gravitational barrier, the speed had to be more than 40,000 kilometers per hour. That was in 25 years. So, from 20 to 100, five-fold increase in 6,000 years. From 100 to 400, four-fold increase in less than 50 years. And from 400 to above 40,000 in 25 years. That is how the speed of change changes. Always there was change in life. So you have to accept that during your time, when you reach my age, the world will not be the same as you see now. Earlier we used to refer to many centuries as one age. When we speak about the nomadic age, when people traveled from place to place, or the agrarian age. industrial age, all meant first millennia, then centuries. But over the last 150, 200 years, an age means less than 100 years. And now it has become something which is half a decade. You will not believe that I found one W bad enough in the alphabet, because W was a very difficult letter to write. And it's a very difficult letter to pronounce. Most people, at least in Kerala, confuse the pronunciation of V and W. So one W was bad enough for my generation. But your generation will not be content unless you have three Ws. W, W, W. That is the difference. You cannot believe that there was a time when there was no mobile phone, when there was no internet. I was telling Srijit that when I went to Europe at the age of 19, there were no flights easily available. I went by ship. So it changes. The definitive tune of an age changes in 5 to 7 years now. So this is the kind of world which you are growing into. And you should arm yourself with that. You cannot apply directly to your life 15 years from now what you are learning at the school today. But there are certain things which will equip you to meet the new problems with new techniques, with your innovative skills, with your imagination, with your hard work, if you are properly inspired. So remember the whole tradition of 5,000 years of Indian history, but also remember that things are changing so fast that the old proverb, time and tide waiteth for no man, applies more significantly to your generation than it did to my generation. And thirdly, you should absorb the good things of the past, but you should also absorb the good things of the present. Be good students. Learn what you learn with diligence, attention, and concentration and commitment. Develop ambition and determination so that you are equipped to meet tomorrow's challenges with tomorrow's techniques using your today's skills. This is by improving your skills, helping yourself to adjust to the future. When you come to a new world, everything is different, but you should have imagination. You have been traveling on these roads in Sharjah and Dubai. Every time I have come to UAE and I have seen all these 6-lane highways, I have bowed my head in respect to salute the engineers who first came and saw a huge desert. Who could imagine that here is a place where a city will come up. Here is a place where we will need roads. Your big road will go this way, another road will go this way. These roads have to intersect somewhere. Then they have to branch off, so they have to have exits. They have to come and merge with the mainstream traffic. And what did the engineers have with them? The map of the desert and the brain which Almighty God had put inside them. From there they have built up Dubai. Forget about 5,000 years of India. You see what you see here. You just try to imagine what Dubai was like before 1970. All the developments. Why? From nowhere, some people who, like you, were students, learned the skills which they were taught in school diligently, absorbed it perfectly, and applied it innovatively. They saw a desert, and they also saw how that desert could become a township. They saw a camel track, and from that camel track they could develop superhighways. They saw potential, and they understood that the potential could be realized, which means they appreciated the possibility. Then they applied their skills they acquired during their school and college days, using the old knowledge to solve the new problems. That is what you should also do. What you learn today may not be directly applicable to the world which you are going to serve 10, 15, 16 years from now. But if you apply yourself diligently all your life, you will be able to convert the world into a better place. The effort must always be to leave behind you a world slightly better than the world into which you were born. You should have principles. I have great faith in God, and therefore I feel that belief in faith in God is very important. Those of you who are atheistically inclined, I really admire you, but then I am not with you. I'm not on the same page. Faith in God, respect for traditions, all this is part of your recognizing the potential, the reservoir of abilities that you have with you. And you are adding on to this with the help of your parents and your teachers and the whole environment around you to increase that reservoir level, so that 10 years from now, when you become the people, the actual doers, you will be equipped with knowledge, imagination, innovative skills, the ability to dream, the ability to think big, the ability to see a township where only a desert exists, the ability to develop an existing camel track into a superhighway. That is what I hope education does to you. And you belong to the world. I spoke about India, but you must remember that you belong to the world. Cartographic boundaries were important when I was a student. When I was young, I knew Himalayas was our boundary. I heard about the Silk Route. I heard about K.P.S. Menon's journey from Delhi to Chungking. I learned about Alexander and all the boundaries that he demolished. Those days, nations were defined as nation states by hills and mountains, rivers and rivulets, oceans and seas, rail lines and road lines, but no longer. Today the whole world is one huge entity. Cartographic boundaries cannot divide men anymore. So you are really part of humanity. That is the next point I want you to remember. So be inspired by your past. Take advantage of your present and equip yourself for the future. Let the future of India and the future of humanity be safe in your hands. Be grateful to all those who went before you, leaving behind great inspiration. But the greatest tribute which you can pay to the past is by using the present to define the future. May God bless you.